Right, I'm going to call the June 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Town of East Long Meadow Planning Board to order. I'm required by Mass General Law to see if there's anyone who might be recording the meeting, and if so, would you please raise your Zoom hand to be brought into the meeting so you can be recognized.
No hands.
Okay, no hands, so come back. We'll do the initial roll call. We have George Kingston. We have Pete Punderson.
Aye.
Jonathan Torsha. You're muted, John.
Here.
Yep. And myself, Russell Denver. We're joined by Bethany Yao, who is the Director of Planning and Community Development, and Rebecca Jones from the Office of Planning and Community Development. So, Mr. Clerk, first item of business, please.
Case SPRW 2021-27, request for site plan review waiver for Main Room Salon LLC, a hair salon at 200 North Main Street, Suite 1101, Assessor's Parcel ID 25-4-1101, in an existing structure in the Business Zoning District. Applicant Natasha Rodriguez, 200 North Main Street, Suite 1101, East Long Meadow, MA.
Hello, Natasha. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Thank you for joining us. So what we'd like you to do is tell us a little something about, you, your credentials, about the business, what the hours of operation are going to be, type of things you're going to do there, the anticipated number of clients per day, hours of operation, that type of thing.
Sure. I'm bringing to you Main Room Salon, where we are giving you the ultimate self-care experience, where I'm looking to bring you self-care and skincare. Excuse me, a little nervous. A little skincare guidance and education. We are priding ourselves on personal growth, education, and inclusive styles for everyday life. I myself have been a stylist since 2004 and have worked with many salons in the area, where I pride myself on education and attention to detail with every guest of mine. I'm looking to bring in 6 stylists and 1 esthetician into Main Room Salon. My hours of operations are from Tuesday through Saturday, from 11 on Tuesdays, 11 to 6, and Wednesdays 11 to 7, Thursdays 11 to 8, Fridays 11 to 4, and Saturdays 11 to 4.
Okay, great. Are there any questions of Natasha from the board members? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? So by roll call, Mr. Kingston,
Aye.
Mr. Punderson,
Aye.
Mr. Torsha,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So you're all set. Congratulations and best wishes and much success.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Case SRW 2020-28, request plan waiver for the Eye of Photography, a photography studio at 145 GIS number 143 Shaker Road, Assessor's Parcel ID 7-650, in an existing structure in the Industrial Zoning District. Applicant Kara Sweeney, 145 Shaker Road, East Long Meadow, MA.
Hello. So you're muted. Yep. You're muted.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. So I don't know if you just heard the last petitioner. Did you have a chance?
I did, yeah. I just had to figure out how to get my camera on, but I got it.
So maybe you can just kind of fill us in about you and your business and hours of operation, what you plan to be doing.
Sure. So I have a photography studio. I currently was right down the street on Shaker Road at number 34. So I'm just relocating, and it'll be the same type of thing. I mostly do newborns and little kids, sometimes families. So I'm appointment only, not much traffic, usually one car, maybe two if it's a couple parents come in with different kids to then leave after we do like family shots. But yeah, I'm very, sometimes on the weekends, but usually morning times, 9 to 1-ish, if that. And I usually only have about one client a day, so not too much traffic.
So I was a little confused. So which building is it on Shaker?
So it's on Shaker Road. It's the building like right in the front, not into the parking lot. I know it kind of like loops around,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's right in the front. It used to be People's Massage on the right side, and then a yoga studio, I think, on the left before.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the board?
No.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. That's an approved use in the district.
Second.
So motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none by roll call. Mr. Torsia,
Yes.
Mr. Punderson,
Aye.
Mr. Kingston,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Case ANR 2021-04, Windsor Lane, Shaker Road. Request by applicant for endorsement of a plan believed not to require subdivision approval under subdivision control law to reconfigure lot lines of existing land of the SIVAD nominee trust into new parcels V3-3R, assessors parcel ID 20-24-3 on 42,395 plus or minus square feet, and Lot A, assessors parcel ID 20-9-0 on 1.258, 784 million plus or minus square feet located in Residence A in commercial zoning districts. Applicant John H. Davis, trustee, and Stephen A. Davis, trustee, the SIVAD nominee trust, P.O. Box 15709, Springfield, MA, from June the 15th.
So I'd just like to ask George to give a little feedback, because a couple days after our meeting, George identified the issue with myself and with Bethany, and I'd like him to maybe just let the whole board know what he found.
Yeah, my recollection is that the lots that they were claiming as a precedent were actually approved under a subdivision plan. This is an A&R, and an A&R is a privilege that's granted when frontage is available. It's a different filing. In my opinion, the appropriate approach to this would be to do what was done on Tees Road, which would be to put in a cul-de-sac to provide the appropriate frontage, which would enhance public safety by having accessibility for fire and police. So the appropriate, in my opinion, the frontage does not exist. It would require a subdivision filing, which would probably end up just being a cul-de-sac rather than a pork chop lot. And that's what I shared with Russ and Bethany earlier.
And I did pass that on to Mike. He asked for this to be rescheduled to
Right.
the July meeting so they could do more research on their end.
Okay. So I didn't catch what date it was going to be. Rescheduled.
July 20th is
Okay.
the next public hearing date.
Okay. So I guess we do have a motion to continue this.
So moved.
A second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. So by roll call, Mr. Kingston,
Aye.
Mr. Punderson,
Aye.
Mr. Torsia,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Right. We have Local Rapid Recovery Plan, LLRP, Community Diagnostic Presentation by Lori Tanner and Greg Rashan, PVPC.
Hi, Lori.
You're muted, Lori.
Hi. I
Hi.
actually had never been in a meeting that was run that way, so I I was like, why can't I see myself? Where am I? I'm here, Bethany. So,
Lori, if you want to share your screen, just let Don know. He's our IT
Yeah,
admin.
should be all set.
yes. So I need to. Go. Sorry. I have to make this one big again and I can't figure out how. All right. Do you see now the full
Yep.
screen? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good enough. All right. So I'm presuming that all of the planning board members are familiar with this program. Is that right?
I would give a little background.
I will. I will. But I just was wondering if you had heard anything at all. Not
Well,
really.
I certainly have. I think George has as well.
Okay, good. All right. So, and I'll introduce myself. Greg could not make it tonight, but I'm Lori Tanner, and I'm the Economic Development Manager at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. And this program was introduced earlier this year, late winter, as a model created by the Department of Housing and Community Development. And in particular, their Mass Downtown Initiative is the one running it. And they are working with a consultant who specializes in revitalizing downtowns and commercial centers. So the goal is to respond to the effects of COVID-19 on, here, wait, I'm supposed to do that. To respond to the effects of COVID-19 on local businesses and to create strategies and specific action steps for the short-term future. So the first step was to get on the ground and see what conditions are, and that's what I'll be presenting tonight. And then we'll move on to actually developing projects. And funding for the projects can come from existing state programs, American Rescue Plan funds that the community is getting or they're coming through the state, and other sources including foundations. And DHCD is going to hold a special webinar on funding sessions sometime this summer. So this is the area of the town, This is the area the town chose for the study. And you can see that it's this very far northwest corner of town. It's a segment of Route 83 or North Main Street that starts at the Springfield border and it ends at Harkness Road. So just before the shopping centers here. It includes Century Fitness and Cookies Cafe. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of where that is. So the diagnostic phase was the first thing that we did, and it looks at existing conditions. And really that was it was in April that we did this, and we've updated it somewhat, since then. So we'll look at each of these items in turn: physical, business, customer, administrative capacity. So first is the physical environment, and we'll be looking at various aspects of it to determine how well it works for both businesses and customers. As you're well aware, the public realm is ready for an upgrade, and that, especially sidewalks and crosswalks. So that's not news to you, I know. Partly because of the very narrow right-of-way in that area and the age of the infrastructure. you know, it's been difficult to improve it, and it's not an ideal environment for pedestrians. And there is even some safety issues, you know, with all of the traffic entering from all of the side streets. And I have a slide further on that shows how access to, you know, even the individual businesses can be hazardous, which you've probably experienced. So the private property in the corridor, most of it is very well maintained. We were really impressed with the level of private investment in buildings, facades, signage. There's definitely room for improvement, and you know, in certain areas, some businesses could use updated signage, but there does seem to be regular maintenance happening, and it's not like things have been allowed to, you know, deteriorate terribly. So things are, you know, relatively quite good. One thing to note is it's not particularly an inviting place to walk at night, because, you know, you have the street lights and you have security lighting, but it's not really a pedestrian oriented environment, and it really was not meant, you know, it was never really meant to be. So here's the picture I was referring to earlier about parking lots being unsafe. You know, there's actually several like this along the street where there's just no curbing and no, you know, the sidewalk is interrupted at that point. And, you know, I know that you're aware of this problem. So businesses in general are fairly visible. The signage can get a little cluttered, especially at the sort of northern end of the street, the northwestern end of the street, and maybe could benefit from more shared signage like this one here, just to kind of consolidate it a little bit.
Oh, can I ask you a question, Lori? So just, can you go back to that, that property right there? Do we know whether that site had a site plan to it, and what the parking outlines or the, you know, spaces were, and was it approved without a, no curbing and that type of thing along the street? I mean, do we know anything about individual properties like that?
So are you asking me if we did that kind of research?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we did not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We were wondering the same thing. When was this approved? Yeah. So, and you know, we realize that the properties are right up against the street. There's very limited space, and they need, you know, the stores need some parking. So it's a tough situation. Okay. So here we're looking at the impacts of COVID and also just the general business environment. For COVID-19, it's hard to really, you know, to see the impacts. And unfortunately, none of the businesses answered the survey that we distributed in March and April. We tried really hard. We were walking the street and handing it out to people and talking to them. So we really thought we would get some answers, but we didn't. So we don't know the exact damage that was done. Some of the questions had to do with like how much revenue had you lost, how many employees did you have to let go, and so we don't have that information. It seems that, you know, nothing closed permanently due to COVID. Some businesses have some very well-established websites that, you know, they were able to keep going with, and some it looked like maybe, you know, had created a Facebook page or already had one, but some are just simply not online at all. So yeah, what are the places that are attracting customers and visitors? There are some larger businesses that are widely in demand, and there's a cluster of restaurants that bring people in. There's some less sort of noticeable places that are also a draw from a wider area, such as the Animal Hospital, which I had no idea existed. And like the ski and bike shop, you know, it's definitely a destination point. And the fact that this is a main route to East Longmeadow Center, as well as to, you know, two major shopping centers with large supermarkets, means a lot of people are just traveling through. So there's a kind of a like very local traffic, and then there's the through traffic. So there's two things going on here, with a lot of turning and stopping and slowing and people trying to get out of driveways and that kind of thing.
So can I just I hate to keep asking questions or making
That's okay.
observations, but I look at the picture in the lower left that has Van Dyke Road on it. And I don't know if anyone else notices it, but it's almost like a pandemic in this town. Did you notice that the street pole is not painted, that the crosswalks are poorly identified because they haven't been striped in a long time? I am one who actually believes in a sense of order. And I think that if townspeople saw that the stripes were done in a fairly, scheduled manner so you can actually see them, would create more safety for pedestrians, it would create a sense of order, I mean, that type of thing. So, I mean, is that a type of recommendation that we might make out of all this, to spend some dollars to actually paint those stripes so there is a sense of pedestrian safety and so forth?
Absolutely. And now my understanding is that you have a shared streets application in. Does it cover all of it doesn't cover all of the crosswalks, does it, Bethany?
No, so we did apply, DPW and planning put our heads together, and we did apply for the bonus round of the Shared Streets and Spaces program. And we should hear back relatively soon about if we were awarded the funding, but that would focus on, I don't know if it would be this particular crosswalk, but it would install new crosswalks and also upgrade some of the existing crosswalks in this area.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And I'll just say that if we've got that on the list, just in case it doesn't get funded, and also in case there are some that don't get, that we can't get all of them in there, that can be a project under this program too. So, okay, so the study area has 42 storefronts. Only one of these is currently vacant. It's the former Pampered Pets building. As far as I know, that's still vacant. There was vacant office space for lease in the Good Life Family Dental building, but I see that has been filled.
Okay.
And I know a couple of the restaurants have been waiting to reopen, and I don't know their exact status at the moment, like Redstone Pasta. I think they're still waiting, still looking for
They're looking for employees.
Yeah, looking for staff, yep. So there's 12 retail stores, 8 restaurants, and quite a lot of places to get your hair, eyebrows, and nails done, plus skincare. There's a fair amount of parking, mainly because there's some really large parking lots behind some of the businesses, or even next to some of the businesses. So I just mentioned some of the clusters, the retail stores and the restaurants. Oh, well, actually the hair and nails sort of cluster, and the restaurants. But one thing that's interesting about this area, I was talking about cluttered signage, it sort of occurs more down here, I guess, for a little further down. But there's a real transition from this sort of older area where there's a lot of high density and very close to the road to the kind of upper part of the road that's more southeast, and there's larger lots and larger parking areas. So there's definitely a different sort of culture and feel. And there's sidewalks all the way through, but they are connected. So we gathered demographic data that the state wanted for the study area and the town, but it's still pretty limited in scope. The data includes, in order to do this effectively, we used a program that included about a half-a-mile radius of the area, because there's no census data for just the stores along, just the properties along the street there. And if you go as large as the census tract, then it's too big. So it's about a half a mile radius. And so that means it goes actually a little bit into Springfield too. So we can see that residents who live in this particular area have significantly lower incomes than the rest of town, and they're more ethnically diverse. Residents in this area have lower levels of education and less workforce participation than other parts of town. And so this is good to keep in mind in terms of who we're marketing to, because one of the ideas that came up in our discussions with folks in the town departments is that we might want to help the businesses do some marketing, and it would be good to keep in mind that this is the nearby population has these characteristics. So we'll look at who the key stewards are on the next slide, but in terms of regulatory issues, we haven't uncovered anything in particular during this process, nor nothing glaring, I don't think, during the master planning process that we just did. Let me know if I have that wrong, but I know there are some, there's sort of the usual complaints about the health department, but that's pretty much everywhere. And it doesn't seem as though, especially given the two examples we just had earlier this evening, it doesn't seem as though, you're making it hard for businesses to open or to get permits. But again, let me know if there does seem to be any kind of block, that's an obstacle.
Yeah.
Okay, so the key stewards, it's a very small area, so there's not a lot particularly dedicated just to this area, but certainly the planning department and the public works folks we met with, very interested. Recreation department be involved. Dan, I forget his name now, from LCAT came out. I'm guessing he's gonna say it.
Oh, Don Mackey. He's on
Don
the call
Mackey.
too.
How could you forget that name? How could I forget that name? He came out when we did our walkthrough. Here we all are doing our walkthrough back before there were any leaves on the trees. And I actually did finally speak to someone at the chamber today. I got to speak to Isabella, who's been there for about 1.5 years. And I'm gonna connect with the new director soon. It starts next week. So, they're certainly open and willing to work with us. And I know they're working with you on Restaurant Week. So there's interest in being more involved. Okay, here's the fun part. So, we have had some discussions with Mary McNally, with Bethany, with the highway department folks, and with folks who came out on the walk we had. George was there, Don Mackey was there, a couple other people, and the state DHCD has been holding webinars on all various kinds of projects that could be done, and I've got 2 pages of them, and we can go through these. So the town can develop at least 5 of these into more full-fledged proposals, which will then, essentially we'd be creating a sort of a grant application ready project. So, we'll help you figure out what steps are needed, what the projected cost would be, potential funding sources, how it would be implemented. We can request, here, we'll come back to these, and I'll just go to this slide because this shows you the areas that we can request an actual, an expert in one particular area who've done multiple projects in that area, say promotion and marketing or forming a bid. I know you're not going to form a business improvement district here, but that's one of the options. Placemaking, there's a lot of arts and culture kinds of projects that were being presented to us as feasible projects. So we can get specialized help in up to 3 areas. We can meet with 3 separate consultants. And that includes an online consultation and then follow up with them. And it would be individualized for East Longmeadow's very specific needs. So, and as I said, I will get back to the projects, but the timeline is basically, we're trying to narrow down these projects by the end of June. And then we're going to be exploring, what all the various steps would be to develop the projects over the next month or so. And then, finalize it and submit something to DHCD. And that would be by September 15th. And you'll have all the results of everything that we've done, plus these projects that will be fully fleshed out. And Greg is not here. Oh, I like this picture, even though I stole it from online, but it shows the beginning of this project area. So, okay. So, yeah, I know that the temporary closing streets was one idea that folks had, and I think that that's still feasible. We would have to, figure it out a bit more, but that's one potential project, and kind of bringing attention to the multiple restaurants in the area and kind of, branding it as a dining district. We were thinking a themed marketing campaign could work to help bring customers in for some of the types of businesses, and then that would spill over to other businesses. It's been noted that a number of the businesses just don't have any online presence and really need that. And I talked to the chamber about that as well. And it appears that none of the businesses in this area are members of the chamber. So I talked with Isabella about, doing outreach and, encouraging folks to join. It's $300 a year plus $4 for every employee. So it doesn't seem like a huge obstacle, but it may be still somewhat of an obstacle for some of the small businesses. Business retention and attraction, helping the existing businesses stay where they are or move to another spot in East Longmeadow. Also reaching out to potential developers of, say, the lot that's currently for sale, the vegetable and fruit bin. So something that sort of does that in a more organized way is a possible project. And then we've got the idea of kind of pop-up events, store, a little shop or an event in a vacant space. Could be outdoors, could be indoors. Here would be another kind of, number 6 would be another pop-up type event, but it would be highlighting a certain business in particular, maybe bringing some of their activities outside and having a little, celebration kind of event. You certainly do that like in the Pride stores, that whole block, there's a bunch of different things going on, or in some other locations. Transit stops, you barely know there is a bus stop, and there's no shelter and there's no bench or anything. So, that might be something to consider. Murals, there is one great wall for a mural. Other types of public art program that it could involve the community. A very small local business association of just North Main Street, possibly. And if the Shared Streets program is not awarded, do that project through this. And certainly, either way, get all the crosswalks painted. I mean, that's definitely something that needs to happen. And I've seen some really interesting crosswalks done in not just your standard white. It'd be great to do brick pave, sort of that faux brick paving. But anyway, that's probably very expensive. So I wanted to get your thoughts and feedback, and we do need to narrow it down. So I guess I'm asking folks what they think.
Well, I'll open it up to the board. Any comments?
Well, I noticed we've got 8 days until our first milestone on this, and I don't know what your plan is to get there. But also, I would I've seen public art in several places. And I would suggest that an organization that might be useful to you would be the Norcross House Board, because they have, over the years, tried to position themselves to promote art in East Long Meadow. It hasn't been overly successful, but they do have a lot of contacts in the local artist community. And they might be a group that reaching out to might help if you choose any of those public art things.
That's really helpful to know. You said the Norcross House Board. Okay. No, that's really great to know.
Norcross House is a historic house in town that is run as a nonprofit event venue and sort of museum. It is struggling, as many nonprofits are, financially, but it does have a lot of contacts in the local artist community. So.
I am writing this all down.
So I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth in, and that is that as much improvement of infrastructure take place first. So, you know, the sidewalks, the crosswalks, you mentioned very little lighting. So maybe a look at either improving the existing street lights or adding additional street lights. And then you would have people who would feel more comfortable walking and, you know, within a dining district or doing a themed marketing campaign, because there would be a sense of safety, or pedestrian safety. You know, even just something like, and I walk a lot that area, you know, you walk down a sidewalk and 4 inches on each side of the sidewalk from the edge is grass. And if you just took those 4 inches and brought them back to really where the sidewalk would be or should be, you've created an additional lane for people. So just little things that improve the appearance and the infrastructure creates a more friendly environment for people. And then I think you then can do the themed type of things you want. And just knowing that district, so you've got Villa Napolitano, you're going to have Redstone, you're going to have the Mexican restaurant. And someone please help me, what's the other Italian restaurant just up the street? Patsy's. So, I mean, that's all right there. You could actually,
Napolitano. Oh, you said that.
yeah, you could do something fun where you could move people from, you know, one place for appetizers, one place to desserts, one place for, you know, entree. But you have to have, you know, proper lighting. You have to have proper sidewalks. You have to have proper crosswalks for the safety of doing something like this. Because if you do it the first time and it looks awful and it's not safe, it's not something that can be continued from year to year.
Good point.
You know, and I'm a big believer in whatever technical assistance grants you can give to people. That's very helpful.
And I might add that I noticed that DPW has somehow found the money to put a crosswalk in on Shaker Road.
Yeah, yeah.
To the playing fields, which is wonderful. Okay, because that's really a good access from the other side. But something like that, for instance, we know that the little development where Villa Napolitana is has had issues with people crossing the street in the past.
Yeah. And
that would be a great place to think about putting in a pedestrian crosswalk with signals, because we have had accidents there in the past.
I think that is one of the. I think that is one of the areas that would be addressed in that proposal, right, Bethany?
Yep. I can share my screen really quickly if that's helpful and just show you what that conceptual plan looks like.
And while she's doing that, let me just point out that one of the aspects of this project is rapid recovery. So, we definitely want to do the full physical infrastructure, but that's going to take some time. But here what she's showing you now is going to really make things look nicer and address some of your the safety concerns too.
So here you can see it's a proposed curb extension it's marked out just to help drivers visualize where they can or should and should not drive. Like right here, there's no markings currently. It's confusing to drivers and pedestrians alike.
Is that at City Line?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is City Line right here.
Napolitano. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there isn't one crossing the street kind of, right there. There's one further up, but.
Right, and then, so this is just moving over slightly. So this is Redstone. This is a New Mexican restaurant. So we'll be putting in a proposed curb ramp here, proposed pedestrian crossing with the sign. There's an existing bus stop. So this crosswalk will help people get to it from this side of the road. And there will be planters periodically across.
Can you
So it's kind of easier to make it look nice in a very concentrated area than to try and fix the whole street.
Can you do facade grants with
We could. That could be one.
Because there are, let's be honest, there are some properties that are very old looking.
Yeah.
That could, if it's a low interest loan, no interest loan or something like that, that could really enhance the outlook of the area as well.
For sure.
Yeah. And this is
signage,
This is just the last one. This is right in front of Kelly Fredette. There's an existing bus stop here, so this would be adding a little platform area for people to access the bus stop. We also a proposed crosswalk here. This is an existing crosswalk, so we would just be redoing that.
And that's the business I was kind of referring to, the one with all the cars.
So that's the plan, and hopefully we'll hear back within the next couple of weeks.
Isn't there can you put that back up maybe for a second? So, one tough crosswalk is at, Vineland. So where Cookies is? I'm pretty sure there is a crosswalk. There's also
the auto place.
Yeah, there's also I think there's a bus stop there too.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Franks and it crosses.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that has a lot of pedestrian, walkers there, and that might be, if we could find the dollars to make that improvement there as well, that would be good.
And one of the issues is the Villa Napolitana has overflow parking across the street, and there's no crosswalk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Bruce,
so that's in the, I know the parking you're talking about, the overflow.
Yeah. Bruce had originally thought it would be good to temporarily shut down Wood Ave and Thomas Street, just partially, as kind of an outdoor dining area, because a lot of traffic cuts through the neighborhoods, and they've heard a lot of complaints from the residents about the high traffic. So that was an idea, but this shared streets bonus program is really focusing more on safety, pedestrian safety, and less on outdoor dining experiences. So that's why we stuck with just really improving the pedestrian area.
I think it looks nice. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
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 Good job. Well done.
Thank you.
I was just going to say that there is a crosswalk down by Villa Napolitano, but it's right at the city line. It's
right.
Yeah.
But
And
there,
that
but
was
there,
in
but it-
poor shape also.
but I think in front of City Line, crossing over to the beauty salon, I think there's a crosswalk there as well.
That's right.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, and there's a bus stop.
Yeah.
A little further up there too, but
So
yeah,
what-
so.
So
Go
what do you need from this board? Or have you
Well,
gotten
you-
enough? Have you gotten enough?
Well, you've given me some feedback. I see a couple of chat remarks. I don't know if those are, oh, yeah. Yeah, you've definitely given me some good feedback to help sort of narrow down. And then you've also added one that we maybe hadn't, was definitely in consideration, but we hadn't put on this short list, which is the facade improvements. So that,
I mean, some of the buildings are really well maintained.
yeah,
I mean, you mentioned that. There are a couple that could use some sprucing up.
yes. So, I can talk to Bethany Moore and, who's going to be making the final decision, approving the final list of projects that we're going to work on. That, I guess that is the question.
Bethany?
I'm not sure. Did the state have any criteria for that, or they just want communities to have a common sense of where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have a community, like a task force or a committee or something, and we really have a very small committee right now, but which is essentially you and Mary, and we've brought in some of the highway folks, and but the planning board members are also very welcome to be part of this committee.
Is there someone on the board who would like to maybe meet one time to give recommendations? Don't everyone jump at the same time.
So what I can do.
John, were you volunteering?
I would be open to it. I mean, I had the chance to walk the site back in April. I feel like safety is probably the most important thing. So I really like some of the plans that were drawn up here this evening with shared street proposal. But I think we've got to, encourage some more activity down there, especially now that you're going to have, more dining areas. So hopefully people will feel safer going down there because, I saw other people walking, but it just didn't feel particularly that safe. So maybe if there's some small things that we can improve upon to make that experience a little bit more safer for people, because there's, quite a few businesses down there.
Would you
I
be
knew there
willing
was
to?
somebody else on that.
Walk? Would you be willing to volunteer an hour of your time to maybe give the final blessing that should be submitted?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. That'd be great. Yeah. So what I can do is I'll draw up a shorter list, a little bit more detailed, and see what you think. And I'll keep the long list as a reference so that you can say, well, wait a minute, you forgot this or whatever, if you want to. And then we'll start working on them.
I think with your plans that that Bethany just went through, I think that's really kind of hitting a home run with what potentially could be done.
Yeah, I mean, we did not do that. That was, the town had already begun pursuing that. I can't take credit at all, even though I'd love to, but but along those lines, I mean, we can't, again, we can't pay for engineering, design, that kind of thing right now, but we can lay out what the funding request would be.
Sure.
And it's pretty, I mean, I know that the town of East Longmeadow is getting rescue funding. So I don't know how you're planning on allocating those funds, but you could, certainly make the case that some of it could go towards these projects, or at least as a match for these projects.
Lori, have we heard anything about what these grant funding opportunities will look like, or is that still kind of up in the air?
Yeah, it's still up in the air. They're going to do a webinar, one of their webinars that's going to lay out all of the possibilities. And local community funds might be one of, partial partially one of those options. But there will be, I'm sure there will be state funding. Right now, there's already, Mass Downtown Initiative funding to do various things. And obviously the Shared Streets program, and, that may continue, so.
Pete, do you want to add anything?
I don't see what any of this has to do with recovery from COVID, first of all.
Oh.
The area basically is the north end of town, which needs updating. I'm all for public safety. I understand there's an outreach by the DPW to address the problem. When you look at the long-range plans for sidewalks and lighting, there's a lot more that comes into play at that point. You have to really start with the infrastructure underground. You have to go with upgrades of stoplights, traffic signals. Then you go with upgrade of the street along with the sidewalk. So a lot of those plans are going to require an awful lot of money, and it's going to have to be done sometime down the road. I had an opportunity to discuss this with a person from the DPW recently about revamping North Main Street in front of Heritage Park, and it was explained to me what it takes just to grind the road. It's not just grinding the road. It's a total update of everything that is under the ground and all the signals, and that will carry all the way down through the corridor to the north border of East Long Meadow with Springfield. So if you're going to paint lines and things like that, that's great. If you're looking at sidewalks, it's a real deep project that requires a lot of money, a lot of state funding, and it's just so much funding, obviously, that we get for upgrades our roads each year. And that I don't think has come into play with the DPW as far as I can glean, doing it over. So the superficial things of painting lines and providing, more public safety is fine, and that can be done. But you look at the other projects, you're looking at a lot more than what you're just seeing on the surface.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't look at this as a recovery from COVID. I look at it as an updating of the north end, which to me, if you take the sidewalks out of the play and the lack of pedestrian safety and lighting, I think the business has pretty much thrived down there. Understandably, the beauty parlors have seen definitely a downturn, but that's going to come back with people being able to come in there. But I don't see that COVID caused a deterioration of the buildings, the facades, or anything like that. I think it's a great project to bring the light and get the public so they want to matriculate down through there. And I think that Russ's idea of have hors d'oeuvres here, main course here, or whatever between the restaurants down there is a great idea. So those are my thoughts on it.
They actually do that every year in downtown Springfield.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's great, and there's a lot down there. If you look at it, there's a lot of really good stuff down there.
Yeah.
So to me, do the painting and all that stuff. I don't know where the lighting comes into play, because I think once you dig up a sidewalk, a lot of other things have to be done. It's like taking an old house like mine and changing some of the electrical. You got to change the whole doggone house. So that's basically where I'm at.
thank you.
So you don't think that, from your perspective, it doesn't seem as if the businesses lost a lot of business, or that anyone was struggling?
Well, I can't speak for them. I just have to look at each business and say, well, the gas station didn't hurt. The restaurants definitely were hurt, but they're coming back now. That you can occupy the bar space and you can have full seating capacity. So I imagine they had an awful time financially, but they're there. I don't see the buildings deteriorating because of it. I imagine the bank accounts deteriorated, but all
That's part of the effort, is to help the bank accounts.
Getting money for the businesses is fine. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
As far as the look of the town, I don't think that suffered, but getting loans or getting money for these people to regain a wallet, that I'm all for it. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we have had two restaurants that have been vacant for much longer than they would have been had it not been for COVID. I mean,
Right, they can't find any help. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
So getting their pockets full of money by some way is absolutely a great idea.
I mean, it's not just a matter of hiring people. We've got a year on each of them, at least year and a half, that they would have been open and thriving, or at least trying to attract business, that we haven't seen because they couldn't open.
I said that. I agree 100%. So if there's a program where they can get a low interest or no interest loan to get going, it's great. But that new Italian restaurant, he hasn't got anybody to wait on tables. So that's another problem.
Yeah.
We'll have to serve ourselves.
I can make a good helping of food myself, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, make it so they can exist. But a lot of the stuff is more major. So get them some money. Let's make
Agreed.
it safer. Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thanks.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Much.
So,
Bye, all.
I believe our next item is to meet with the master plan committee.
Mr. Chairman, we have outdoor dining update just before
Oh,
that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's just really quickly that the state extended the outdoor dining as well as the remote participation for our meetings until April 1st, 2022. And I sent you all the full text to that, so feel free to read through it if you'd like to, but that's just a really quick update.
Yeah, just on the remote meetings, because we have the ability to do that, I'd like to at least do that through Labor Day and maybe a little bit further. I think it just actually, with people going on vacations and whatever, they can stay in contact with us and participate in the meetings, even if they are not going to be in town. So I thought we're going to do that. Maybe mid-September-ish, we might think about coming back if people find it to be appropriate. Okay?
Great,
So.
thank you.
All right. So welcome, members of the Master Plan Committee.
Pamela on there too? Is she a member of that committee?
Yep, she
Okay.
is.
Sorry about that.
So
I'll-
Bethany, how do you want to do this?
Sure. So this was really what I hope to be an opportunity for the Master Plan Steering Committee to discuss with the Planning Board their thoughts on the master plan of what we have so far. I know we're still waiting for some of the graphics to be finished up, but we do have the technical papers, which are the meat of the master plan. And we had a couple more documents sent over by Ken a little bit before 6 p.m. today, which includes the matrix, which kind of lays out the different recommendations and what they might take to be implemented, as well as some of the graphics. So I wanted to get a feel for people's thoughts on what we have so far and what else you think needs to be done before an adoption of the master plan could occur.
Well, I haven't had a chance to look over the documents that were sent at 6 o'clock tonight, okay? I will comment though, Ken, that we still have the wrong indigenous peoples in East Longmeadow. They're not Pocumtucks, they are Agawams, for the fourth time. And the graphic that I saw did not include the additional transmission line that I had identified. So I'm not sure where that stands, but
that map is being done by our GIS person, and I should be doing that tomorrow. With regards to the language that you identified in the open space section with the Agawams, I believe I changed that language.
the document I got still said Pocumtuck.
Okay.
I don't want to be, obsessive about this, but
Sure.
somebody's going to refer to this plan at some time in the future and not do any research and get it wrong. Okay. I do have the original references if you need them for the indigenous peoples of the area. There's documentation on this.
Okay.
But I don't want to put into print something that is erroneous that somebody will look at and go, oh, this is the way it was.
That's fair. Thank you, George.
So Connor, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll officially open it since we're all meeting jointly. So we have our master plan steering committee here. Connor O'Shea is the chair. We have Marilyn Richards. We have George Kingston. We have Tim Murphy, Pam Blair, and Gordon Smith.
I've got George Kingston. You can't.
Yes, we'll share them. Yeah, so it's been a long but quick process at the same time. So between PVPC and the area planning group, we held a couple different workshops that I think most of us in the audience and on the planning board had attended. And then we also did a couple surveys, and there were also some focus group sessions that were held to focus on specific chapters with certain people that would be beneficial to those areas or new specific information there that would be helpful to us. And so then we revised the plan quite a few times and sent our feedback. And so I think that lands us where we are today. As far as outstanding things, it looks like it's come together a lot more in the past couple of weeks. The one thing that I'd still like to see is having comparisons in the document to Longmeadow, because so far we really only have to like West Springfield and Wilbraham in some of the chapters, but we know that most people in town always like to compare us to our counterpart right next door. So it'd be nice to say we did the due diligence in adding that information to the documents.
So Connor or other members of the committee, what surprises did you see throughout the process? Like you didn't think was an issue, but people continue to raise it time and time again. So kind of what surprised you for people's opinions on what we should be moving toward under the plan? And if there was nothing, that's fine, but.
Probably two things that caught my eye anyway were that even though a lot of people work in the general area, there was still a sizable category. I think it was 34% of people commute outside of communities in this area to go to work every day. Mm-hmm. So that still, to me, showed that we are very much a commuter town and not everyone works here. I also did think it was surprising too. There was a graphic that PVPC had that showed that most people that live in town actually leave town to go to work, but then most people in Springfield would come to East Longmeadow to work. So it's kind of interesting that we're just flip-flopping where we're going and living.
Yeah. It kind of verifies our part of being part of a region.
Right.
Yeah. Do other members of the master plan have anything they found surprising throughout the process? Marilyn, I'm sure you do. You're muted.
You're muted, Marilyn.
I'm sorry. No, everything has been this has been an amazing process, and the workshop sessions that we've had with our residents. I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I was pleased that we verified that we have some very exciting, interested people in our community that have some exciting thoughts about our town, and we'd like to tap into that excitement and get them on boards and committees and get more involved in our community in that regard. But no, it's no real surprises about what people had to say, because I agreed with most of it.
Okay. So given that we got this at 6 o'clock, can maybe Ken or Connor, can you identify, let's say I'll make it easy, the 3 most pressing needs moving forward for the town that were identified?
Do you have those handy, Ken?
Well, so I think, just a debrief of the particular process by which we came up with the recommendations. Initially, as we worked with the master plan committee, typically towns would adopt master plans that fell under the statutory elements, and it would be presented as such. So you would have a land use section where, within that, you would see those recommendations. With open space, you'd see something similar. I think the way that this particular process has played out, there has been some sort of natural conversation through our engagement efforts that created 5 themes. And of the 5 themes, I think probably that, can maybe from there you can strategize on the recommendations under each theme, and that's the way that it's going to be presented. If you review the matrix, that will be the case where you'll see the 5 themes that have been outlined. So one of them being center square. The second, resilient, balanced growth. Third one, a sense of community. The fourth one, let me see. I just want to make sure that I'm reading each one correct. Protecting the natural environment.
Right.
That's the fourth one. Sense of community, I said that. Center square, resilient, balanced growth, and finally, ensuring sustainability. And so the way that those particular themes have been identified came from the context of the conversations we were getting from the community, as well as the survey efforts that we've done, in addition to other engagements that, that the housing committee did last year, or the group that was working in the housing chapter last year, as well as other opportunities. So, I mean, it's hard to say what are 3 recommendations. I'm sure everyone would have a different perception on, if they felt strongly about certain things. I think as the person that's outside of the process, or working with the process, but outside of East Long Meadow and kind of gauging where everyone has been, the identification of those themes, I think, understandably provide, discussions on how to preserve and continue to preserve important large tract parcels. Addressing, I know that there's a lot of frustration about the Rotary, and a lot of frustration about us bringing, just continuing to discuss the Rotary, but Center Square as an opportunity for increased safety, whatever that looks like, as well as ensuring development and walkable continuity. And then ensuring that there are community, the sense of community, which provides intergenerational activities supporting the school system, as well as the seniors. There are 22% of the population being 65 plus, and aging in place being very important. And so how is the town going to navigate that? And so I think, understanding those particulars have guided the development of the plan with the recommendations that have been provided, and then also scrutinized by the community through our implementation workshops and navigated through survey data. So hopefully that, that guides the town with regards to what they deem very important, how they want to navigate some of the strategies that have been outlined. I think, with understanding that master plans usually are, have to be adopted by the planning board. The planning board will, through, it's the brain trust that you all have, especially with your planner, understand how to navigate implementation, especially you want to keep that momentum, and whatever that looks like. But I think during this process, hopefully, we got it right. And I think obviously there's the back and forth of revisions that we'll continue to do. As Bethany said, I wanted to get before you what are the graphics, what a plan will look like. So she will be sharing that with you if she hasn't already, as well as the technical papers, which will exist on its own. Obviously, we're going to make those that address that comment that George made and address the Longmeadow issue, and just ensure that the proper graphics are within that document. And so I guess that's my quick spiel summary. And, Bethany, if there's anything that I'm missing, or the committee, please let me know.
So Bethany, you know, the planning board is anxious to kind of get this adopted. Obviously, if we got it this evening, we're not going to act on it tonight. We next meet on July 13th, and it's my impression we were going to have one item that
Right.
night.
Yep.
So if members of the planning board are fine to add this after that item, that we can spend some extended time and we can actually go through it prior to that point. Maybe Connor, if I could impose upon you and maybe another committee member to appear that evening, so we can maybe bounce some questions off of you at the same time. But I'd like to get this done before the end of the summer, so that we've waited a very long time to get this done. So I don't want to put it off. As you know, I like to get things done. So certainly by the end of our August meetings, I would like to have this adopted one way or another. So.
Great. I will put it on the agenda for July 13th and make sure to send out that Zoom information to the Master Plan Steering Committee. Anybody who'd like to join us, feel free to. And Ken, do you have an idea of when that graphics or when the final plan deliverable will be prepared?
By the end of the week.
Okay, great. So as soon as I get it from Ken, I will send it on to everybody else for a final look over.
So for I guess the question for both Connor, Ken, and Bethany. So after adoption by the planning board, is there any other formal adoption by town boards or committees that need to happen? And once it is approved by the planning board, is there a narrative that is attached to the approval from the planning board to the different town boards and committees about how the master plan is hopefully going to be used down in the future?
So only the planning board is required to adopt it. Town council, any other board could do it as a
Symbolic gesture or something.
Yeah, as a gesture, that's perfectly fine. But by Mass General Law, it's only the planning board. And I think that's a good idea to send off to the different departments, just a brief summary of how the master plan can be best utilized, or how we hope they'll be able to use it. So I would be fine with drafting up that summary.
And we now have a town councilor on the committee, so that's great. Congratulations, Connor.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was the point I was just going to make. If the next meeting is July 13th, Marilyn and I wouldn't be able to.
Oh, right, because there's a town council meeting that same night. Okay.
Marilyn,
the other members are able to attend or not.
Marilyn, the only item on our agenda that night is PLH Inc. I don't know if you want to come to our meeting. No.
No, I'm boycotting.
Yeah. Well, let's try to work out a schedule so
Sure.
so it can happen. I mean, we meet again on the 20th of July. So maybe by that time, I don't know if there's a conflict there, but that might be more appropriate, because I really do think we would like to have your background, having been involved in the process the whole way. I think that would be important for us to be able to ask questions if we have any of it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can work out the schedule. Happy to attend.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
I have a question for Bethany, please. Bethany, you, just before the meeting tonight, you sent us 3 documents. Now, as a committee member, I've been in receipt of a lot of documents over time. The East Long Meadow Master Plan 2021, the 29-page document with all the pictures, is that the official master plan document?
Ken, back me up here. I think that's just some of the graphics that will be incorporated into the final deliverable. Just to
So
give.
we don't have that official document in these things that we downloaded this afternoon.
Correct. It hasn't been packaged together yet. It's still kind of in its separate pieces.
Okay, that's fine. You know, I know it's a work in progress, but I just wasn't sure and I hadn't had a chance to review them yet. So I wanted to focus on the most important pieces. Thank you.
One question that I have is, implementation is always the most important part, right? So what's the coordination we need to actually get like that implementation committee or some variation thereof moving forward after the plan is adopted by the planning board? Is that something that like the planning board would have to take responsibility of because they're like the owner of the master plan, or is that like a multiple town agency has to form that together?
It's a very good question. Well, it is a document. It's a blueprint. It is not the Bible. And I know that it will go to various boards and committees, some of whom might adhere to it more than others. So I would suspect all those things that would have to go through the town council. I think you and Marilyn would be properly placed to kind of put pressure there. I think if the planning board is going to adopt it, we will certainly act on those recommendations, in a timely manner. So I know that there are some proposed changes to certain zoning bylaws and the like. Bethany oversees, I know, the ZBA and the Conservation Commission, so I would hope her good offices, along with the town manager, to have those items, appropriately action taken there. But I think getting the current town manager involved in the process because the town manager appoints people to the boards and to the committees, and in certain cases, I know with approval from the town council. So I think using their influence there would be helpful as well. But I think it's really more of a coordinated effort. Maybe Bethany can help oversee. So.
Yep, I agree with Ross. It's definitely a team effort. And I think as far as the recommendations go, it kind of, what it seemed like, at least from the past plans that I've seen recommendations been implemented from, is it kind of depends on what funding becomes available. So that's a huge piece in what gets chipped off and when.
I'd just like to add a little adage here that planning is absolutely critical, but that, quoting a rather famous adage, no plan survives the first encounter with the enemy. And so it's a plan. We will do what we can, but what comes out the other end will probably look different from what the plan says.
I want you to identify the enemy. So.
Everywhere.
Yeah, okay. All right. Connor, anything else you want to add as we move forward?
No, I think we're all in agreement here that we have a pretty solid plan, and we just don't want to see it get put on a bookshelf and get cobwebs on it over the next 10 years.
I hear you. And I just want to thank everybody who participated in the process. I know it took a lot of time and a lot of effort, so you're all to be applauded. So thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
All righty. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Night.
So,
Adjourn.
well, let me see what, Bethany, you have anything, director's report?
Nope, not today. We're good to go.
Okay, motion to adjourn from George. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, no need for a roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, see everybody in 3 weeks. Have a great day.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.